We are going live on YouTube. Okay, so for the folks who would prefer to watch on YouTube for whatever reason, if you prefer the YouTube viewing experience, I've dropped the YouTube link in the chat for you guys to check out. Actually, I didn't drop the YouTube link in the chat because I sent it only to the panelists. Here it is for the attendees and the panelists. But now that we've gotten that out of the way, I think we can hit screen share over here. Oh, that's not screen share, that's share, hit present, and we can begin on this webinar. Forgive me for my terrible case of bedhead today. It's still pretty early for me, and I moved into a new place, so I don't have any coffee to keep me going. Let's make sure we're recording on locally as well. So we have a recording to send you guys. And then once Zoom tells us we're recording, that's our cue to start. So welcome everyone to this webinar about how educational institutes can as I said, I haven't had my coffee today. Welcome to this webinar about tactics that educational institutes can use to streamline their admissions and enrollments process. This is a webinar that we've had in the works for some time now. We were just looking for the right partner to do this webinar with. And thankfully, we found that partner in the folks over at Academia by Serosoft. We'll get into who they are, who we are in the next couple of slides over here. Now, as always, we like to begin our webinars with intros about who your hosts are, who the companies hosting the webinar are, just so that you guys know where the knowledge that we share on this webinar is coming from. We're not just two random guys on your screen telling you what you should do in your admissions programs. We actually have some experience working with folks in admissions, and that's where we got the tactics that we're going to share with you today. So my name is Arnav Patel. I'm the regular host on these webinars. I'm a content marketer over here at TARS, and essentially my job is to take all of the awesome work that our team does working with our clients and package it in a way that makes it informative to others out there who might benefit from that same sort of work. So a lot of the tactics that we're discussing today are tactics that our team has used, our customer success team has used to deliver value to our customers, and we're just repackaging those tactics that they've used and that have worked for them into this webinar for you guys to learn from. I am privileged to be joined today by Mayank Khernar, Business Development Manager at Serosoft. You're Business Development Manager, right, Mayank?
Yes.
Yeah. Welcome to the webinar, Mayank. Always good to have new faces on.
Thank you so much for giving the opportunity. Looking forward to host that with you.
Hey, Mayank, it looks like your voice is breaking up a little bit. Maybe what we can do, and what we usually do in situations like this is we just switch off our video so that it makes the connection a little more stable.
Okay. And let me do this. Let me just change my connectivity. Meanwhile, you take it forward and then I'll change it back. Is that okay?
Yep. Now it's sounding a lot better now already. I don't know if you changed anything, but anyways, coming back to the webinar. This webinar is being hosted by TARS and Academia by Serosoft. So TARS, obviously, I work for TARS. TARS has been around since 2016, and we've been helping marketers and customer service folks, regardless of the industry, boost their conversion rates using conversational tech. And the way we view enrollment, as you'll see from the tactics that we share, the way we view enrollment at TARS is we view it as fundamentally a marketing problem, because you are trying to convince people to share their information with you. You're trying to convince them not to buy a product necessarily, but to submit an application for your program. But it's a similar problem that you're facing, and we have developed a set of tactics over the past 5 years using conversational technology that helps you do a better job of getting more people into your funnel and getting more people applied to your program. I'm sorry, every time I look over at my video, I'm just reminded of the terrible case of bedhead that I have. Also, we're just reconnecting Mayank, having a bit of a technical issue over here, but Mayank should be back with us now. And just in time, Mayank, because I was going to hand it off to you to tell us a little bit about Academia by Cerosoft, our co-hosts for this webinar.
Great, thank you. I'm using my mobile phone for better internet connectivity, so please pay me for that. Okay, so I'll give you a quick background on us. We have been working in this domain from last 13 years, established in 2008, helping education institute implement the robust, highly scalable, multi-centered SIS system by removing their old traditional processes and ensuring that they get the best return on investments. And that is what our purpose. And we would be happy to talk in more detail of how would you be getting that return on the investment that you do. Over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayank. Thanks. It's going to be great to have your expertise on this webinar, Academia's expertise on this webinar. So moving on, the topics that we are talking about today in this webinar for the next hour or so, we've divided the webinar up into 3 parts to keep it simple. In the first part, we are going to be talking about the challenges that exist with student recruitment. So this is essentially the why of why we are on this webinar today. So why are we going through all the trouble of hosting this hour-long session? Why do we create these slides? What is the problem that we are trying to solve with the tactics that we have today? In the second part, we will obviously go through the tactics that we have. So I've got a couple of tactics for you guys. Mayank has a couple of tactics for you guys. And then finally, after we're done telling you about Mind, we will jump into the Q&A section. But since we have a lot to cover in the next hour or so, let's get started with the actual content. So the challenges with student recruitment. Broadly speaking, any student recruitment, if you zoom out to the 50,000-foot view, any student recruitment effort, the people who are passing through your enrollment funnel, the people who are passing through your admissions process, at least at the beginning, will go through 3 stages. They are going to start off as a prospective student. You're going to try to capture their lead information so that you can nurture them and convince them to submit an application, and then eventually, hopefully, get them enrolled into your program. Now, this seems easy enough when you look at it on paper, but the issue is, and what we really can't convey effectively, I mean, I tried my best over here to convey it, but what the diagram doesn't convey on its own is that at each stage of this journey, when you're moving people from prospect to lead to enrollment, there is leakage going on. People are leaving your funnel, and that makes your job harder because your job is obviously to drive enrollments for your program. And if people are leaving before they share their information with you, or people are leaving before they submit an application or accept their offer, that makes it harder for you to get your enrollment numbers up. Now, there are a whole bunch of causes for lead leakage, but I think we're going to talk about a couple of the largest ones. So one of the problems that we often see with our customers when we're talking about why people don't convert or why people don't go from being a prospective student into an enrollment is uncertainty. Plain and simple. Before prospects request information, before even if they've requested information, before they apply or enroll, people want to be certain about their decision to apply to your institution. Committing to a program at any educational institute, whether it's a master's program, undergrad program, whether it's a professional program, whether it's online, offline, it's a big decision to make. It's a huge commitment you have to make, and often it can cost a lot of money. So it's a big buying decision as well for the people who are looking for your programs, for your prospective students. So they want to be absolutely certain about your program before they move forward with their application, before they share any information with you, or before they enroll. Now, if you fail to address this uncertainty, that is one of the sources of lead leakage. So if you want to convert your site visitors into leads, if you want to convert your leads into applications and enrollments, you need to be effective at conveying the information that your prospective students want to hear to prevent them from dropping out of the buyer journey or dropping out of the enrollment journey and converting into an actual student. Now, that's obviously not the only other option over here. A lot of students, they don't just drop from the enrollment journey. They don't just say, hey, I'm not going to apply to this program because I can't find this piece of information. What they often do is they will email an admissions counselor. They'll find someone on your admissions team and they will send them an email asking them their question. This is a problem because your admissions team's time is valuable. They have enough on their plate. They can't feasibly respond to every query quickly, and this compounds the lead leakage problem. So here we have the second common source of lead leakage that we see. So the first source is that people can't find the information that they're looking for on your web page. That's going to cause some people to drop. So that's one source of lead leakage. Then the second source of lead leakage is the people who still have their questions, but ask an admissions counselor, they're not getting responses to those queries quickly enough. And that's because your admissions counselors are strapped for time. So there are two problems that we are really trying to solve over here. One is an information conveyance problem. So how do you effectively convey information to your prospective students? Because if you're able to convey that information more effectively to them, then there's a higher likelihood that they will stay in the funnel and they will actually convert into an enrollment. And the second problem that we are trying to solve is this problem of time, where your admissions counselors, your admissions team, your enrollment team has a million different things to do. And if they were able to execute on all million of those things quickly, it would probably drive more enrollments because they'd be able to provide quicker service to a lot of your prospective students. But physically, that isn't feasible. So we need to reclaim some of your admissions counselors' times, some of your admissions team's time, so that they are actually in a state where they are able to respond to every query that comes their way. So in our 5 tactics, keep those two problems in mind, the time problem and the information problem, because those are the two problems that we are going to be addressing with our tactics. Now, let's talk about those tactics. So how do we address these? These information problems and these time problems without involving the admissions team? Well, that's where the tactics come into play. So I'm going to go first. I'm going to present you guys with a couple of tactics that I think could be useful, that we've seen be effective for our education clients, and I'm going to hand it off to Mayank to talk about his tactics. So the first tactic that we have is making lead capture conversational. So when I'm talking about lead capture over here, throughout the journey and enrollment, you are capturing some form of information, some form of lead information from your prospective students. At the top of the funnel, if you're running ads, or even if you're just dependent on organic traffic coming to your pages, you probably have a web page. And prospective students will land on that web page, and your aim when they land on that web page is not only to educate them, but to ideally get them to submit contact information to you. You want their email, you want their phone number, so that it's in your CRM and you can nurture them with information about your program that will hopefully make them convert down the line. Now, the problem with capturing information like this at the top of the funnel, or wherever you're capturing it in the enrollment journey, is that people don't like filling out forms. And there's data to back this up. Across industries, any additional form field that you add to your form can reduce conversion rate from anywhere between 8 to 50%. Now, the 50% is obviously on the extreme side of things, but generally we have seen that there is a considerable drop in conversion rate as you add more form fields. So those forms that you are using are literally losing you. They're literally losing you money. They're literally losing you enrollments, because the more fields you add to them, the fewer people you actually get to request information, the fewer people you can nurture into an actual application and enrollment. But I mean, most people would say, okay, then just take out all the form fields, right? Just ask for email, just ask for name. Why add any more form fields? Because those form fields that you're asking for, in addition to the basics, are important. Your ability to effectively nurture people with the right information further along in the enrollment journey is dependent on you having information about your leads, about your prospective students. And if you don't have that information, it makes your lead nurturing more ineffective. So in a sense, the way you can think about this is, You can reduce the number of form fields that you have at the top of the funnel, and that'll increase your top of the funnel conversion rate. You'll get more requests for information. You'll get more people going into your CRM. But that's going to come at the cost of more lead leakage further down in the enrollment journey, because with less information, you have less effective lead nurturing. So your lead nurturing is moving fewer people further along in the funnel. Now, equally, you could reduce the number of form fields you have. You could increase the number of form fields you have. And that would give you the information that you need for effective lead nurturing. But again, that would reduce your top of the funnel conversion rate. So you're trying to strike a balance between these two metrics over here. And to give you an example of a place where you need some extra information to nurture a lead properly, take international students as an example. So I was an international student through my undergrad and through my master's program. And the set of information that an international student needs is often different from a local student, because they need to worry about things like visas. They need to worry about things like work authorization. And that's the sort of information that they want to know about as they're applying for a program, versus someone who is a local student who doesn't really care about those things. And they don't have to care about those things. If you have that additional piece of information, you can segment your list into international students, non-international students, just as an example, and send different information to those segments to more effectively nurture them down the funnel. Now, what's the solution to this? Well, get rid of the forms altogether. Replace your forms with lead capture chatbots. And what a lead capture chatbot is essentially you have a widget on your, actually, you guys know what a lead capture chatbot is because you signed up for this webinar. And when you signed up for this webinar, you submitted your email ID to a lead capture chatbot that exists on our webinar page. So what a lead capture chatbot is it's just a chatbot. It's a chat conversation that your prospective students have that collects the same information that your form would, but it does it through chat. Now, a lot of people's first reaction is this seems like a cosmetic change. You're capturing the exact same information. The outcome's the exact same. You're just putting a different coat of paint on top. Instead of having a form facing the users, you're having a chatbot face the users, but the effect is the exact same. Well, it turns out that it isn't the exact same, because chatbots are able to actually convert at considerably higher rates than your regular lead capture forms. They're able to convert at a 50 to 200% higher rate in our experience. That's the range, but generally we've seen tends to be closer to somewhere between 50 and 100% higher. And it also translates into better lead quality as well. And it doesn't really take a rocket scientist to figure out why this is the case. People don't like filling out forms because they are bureaucratic. I have not met anyone who likes filling out a form. They might not dislike filling out a form, but they certainly don't enjoy the process of filling out a form. Now, when you convert that same form filling experience into a chat experience, it completely reframes the entire interaction, even though the outcome in terms of capturing the same information is the same. And it reframes the entire experience because instead of now being a one-way self-serve experience where you as a prospective student are filling out a form on your own, the chatbot converts the lead capture experience into a customer service experience, where there is someone who's taking out the time, or something in this case, because a chatbot is a piece of software, taking out the time from their day to collect information from you as a prospective student. And that added bit of customer service, that added bit of personalization makes the experience feel, for lack of a better term, more engaging. And that's one of the reasons it translates into a higher conversion rate. And it's one of the reasons that it translates into people being willing to stay on the page for longer while they are filling out your details. And because they're willing to stay on the page for longer, you can ask for more information in the same amount of time. And that translates into the better lead quality as well. So we're addressing both of the problems we identified a couple of slides back of increasing your lead conversion rate, while at the same time getting the information that you need to be more effective in your lead nurturing further down in the funnel. And And to tie this back into the problems that we were talking about at the beginning, think about this in the context of the information problem. People are looking for the right information. When you get better lead quality, you're able to nurture people further down in the funnel with more targeted information that suits their specific needs. And that helps them more effectively get the information that they need to make a decision about whether they're going to apply or not. But that's enough about this tactic. Let's move on to the next one, because Mayank obviously also needs to share his tactics, and I'm going a little over my time. So the second tactic is to break your reliance on landing pages. Now, this is very similar to the previous one, but it targets a different sort of user behavior that exists on your landing pages. So when people land on your program landing pages, whether it's through an ad, whether it's through organic, they are fundamentally looking for information. That is their purpose on that page. They want to find out more about your program. They want to find out more about your facilities. They want to find out more about your professors. They want to learn more about your program. And if you can't, as we established earlier, if you can't provide this information, then they are going to drop. So how do you provide them with this information? On a traditional landing page, you just include it in the copy of the page. Landing pages are basically just glorified brochures, in my opinion. They have a bunch of text in them. They have a bunch of images in them. And the expectation is that your prospective students are going to read through that text, that they are going to look through those images, and then they're going to be convinced when they find the information that they are looking for. Maybe you have a set of FAQs on the page. FAQs are quite a common tool for this. And FAQs are sort of the prototypical way to convey information through text. You have the questions that you think prospects might have, and then you answer those questions in the hopes that they read those answers, they have their uncertainty addressed, and they will be convinced, and they'll share their contact information with you. But that often isn't what happens. Even if your page does contain the information that the prospect is looking for, and in 90% of cases, I think, at least 90% of cases, your page will contain that information. It will contain the exact piece of information that each prospect is looking for. The prospect is just not going to read that information. Especially, I mean, I don't want to generalize about people in my age group, but especially people in my age group, reading is often seen as a lost art. And that's because we don't have time to sit down and read from start to finish through an entire landing page. We have other stuff to do. We have people message, we have social media to scroll through, and we have work. We have, whether it's homework and we're in school, or whether it's just regular work and we're looking at a grad school program, we have work to do. So we don't have time to trawl through all of this text and figure out where the information that we need is. So what often happens is prospects will skim over the pages that you send their way. They won't find the information that they're looking for. And to tie this back into the information problem we were talking about earlier, we are not able to effectively convey the information that a prospect needs to move to the next stage of the enrollment or admissions journey. So that's the problem that we're trying to solve. And the solution that we use to solve this is to address FAQs, frequently asked questions, using a chatbot. Now, essentially, what we're doing over here is we are flipping the information hierarchy. That's how I like to think about it. Now, this sounds super jargony, but it's actually a lot easier to understand than you think. With a landing page, what you're doing is you're putting all the information that you think a prospect might need onto a page, and then you expect the prospect to go through all of that information and find the specific information that they need, and then get their queries addressed. With a chatbot, what you do, on the other hand, is you take all of that information, you put it into a conversational flow, and you don't show it to a prospect. So you show as little information as possible to the prospect. And instead, you ask the prospect to guide the interaction to the information that they're looking for. So instead of saying, hey, here's all of the FAQs that we have, here's all of the information that we have about our program, have fun, find what information you need, and then submit your email to us, you say, how can I help you? What are you looking for? And then you try to guide them in the chat conversation to the specific resource or the specific information that they are looking for. And that information isn't just thrown at them on a page, it's hidden behind the conversational flow, and it's only revealed when a prospect indicates that they want that piece of information revealed. So you say, how can I help you? I have a question about your I have a question. I'm an international student. I have a question about visas. The chatbot says, sure, what can I help you with about this? Maybe give some quick reply options, or maybe direct you to the specific page or the specific section on the website that has information about visas, so for international students, which is the that's the example that comes to my mind because I've been in that position before. And the effect of presenting information in this way, where you don't dump everything onto a page and instead you let the prospect tell you what they want and then only show them that piece of information through the chatbot, is that people are more likely to actually get their questions answered. So the information problem that we talked about earlier is being addressed, because even though you have the same information being presented through the chatbot as through your landing page, it's presented in a package, it's presented in a form factor that prospective students will actually read. And because they are actually going to read that information, because they don't have to go through all the effort of skimming through all of the other information around them, what ends up happening is they get their uncertainty resolved. That increases the likelihood that they are going to submit their email to you. That reduces the number of emails and phone calls that your admissions team gets. So we're also addressing that time problem over here, because now they have fewer queries to address as a team, and they have more time to allocate to the ones that actually do require their attention. So in a sense, these FAQ chatbots, these informational chatbots on pages address both the time and information problems. If you stay till the end of this webinar, we can actually show you a demo of what this looks like, but I'm doing pretty bad on time over here, so I'm going to hand it over to Mayank to go through his 3 tactics.
Thank you so much, Arnav. I would request you if you can continue helping me out sharing the screen, because I might not be able to do that.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. So to all the team members who have joined, so right now what we have observed is we have seen of how well to let the lead come onto our page and what need to be done. So if you think we are going good, we are going fantastic, but we are still halfway in terms of we have the lead onto our doors, we have taken some information. Now the half story till the student finally takes enrollment is what we're going to cover in the next 3 tactics. So the tactic number 3, which is least response time and high conversion rate, which we're going to talk about. Now, the examples that we're going to show, we'll start with the problem. The examples that we're going to talk about are what we have learned and we have seen quite often working with hundreds of organizations, education organizations, which are still in common. So this is not the rocket science, but these are some small tactics, small things, which we are sure is going to create a huge difference. So let's go on to the problem number 1. Getting the lead to us or the student information to us is a big challenge, which we have seen how we can streamline it. But now, because organizations nowadays use a lot of different sources, so they get a lot of leads coming from different channels altogether. So that is the first problem, keeping in track of which lead is coming from which source, which sheet are you keeping on updating, on which platform are you putting down all that information. So that's the first problem, which is lead coming from various different sources. Going to talk about the problem number 2. Now, because you have the leads on different platform, that's where the second problem that comes into place. How are you going to communicate? Are you going to give them a call? You're going to drop them an email or an SMS? And if yes, then how are you going to keep a track of whether that particular information has been floated? And if you're required to do a follow-up, which is mandate, how are you going to do that? And believe me, if you're stuck into any of this, you let a lot of your leads go into your opponent's pocket. Now, talking about the solution. So what we can do is we can decrease the time by putting all this inquiry, which is coming from various different sources, channels, onto a single screen. So that is ultimately will give you an idea about what to do when, which leads, which source is working well for you, what do you need to optimize to ensure that you hit the target which is promised, and getting all the list onto a single screen will also make your life easy in terms of assigning them to the right person to ensure there's a proper follow-up done. So that is the first solution to the first problem, where we saw there are a lot of leads coming in at different channels, putting them onto a single screen. The solution number 2, which is ensuring that there's a proper conversion conversation that happens. Now, because you have all the information onto a single screen, you can ensure there's a proper email, SMS, or different campaigns that you can push, which is the right message at the right time, so that you can get the right response from that particular student. So these are the quick 2 solutions that we were wanting to talk about. Now let's move on to the effect. So the effect is it's easy to reach out to all the prospective students. You have better conversion rate. Now, before going to the next tactic, let me focus into it in more detail, which is, so 2 things, and I'll talk about how we're going to with an example, how we're going to get really good return on investment. So first, we have all these records onto the screen, which is easier for you to talk to them. Second, and again, talk to them in a defined time, which is defined SLA, which has been promised by your counselors or your team to ensure that it's the right reach out made. Second, how we're going to get really good conversion ratio. So with our case studies, especially being working with 15 countries, we have seen a timely follow-up and a proper information onto a screen would let, for example, if you do not do this, you have 3 out of 10 leads converted to enrollment. If you have an option or an application like this, it will jump to number 7, which is almost the double of what you were doing in the past, which will ensure that you get some really good return on investment to buying a product like this if you do in the coming future. So these are quick 2 effects. Now moving on to the 4th tactic, which is analytical based reporting. Okay, so till now what we have talked about, and we have let student attracted, we have grabbed their attention, made it easier for them to apply. They've put down their information. Then we have realized that getting all this information onto a single platform is mandate, and a proper communication is must. And we are ensuring that it happens. Now, while doing all of this, there's one really important thing that is mandate. Data is the oil of the future. And that's where analytical engine comes into play. So let's talk about first problem that we have seen organization facing. Arnav, if you can help me out changing this slide, thank you. So the problem is there's no proper reporting on marketing activities and team performance, and there's improper reporting due to scattered data. Now, because there's a lot of follow-ups done, you might be getting, with the current system, you might be getting reports into PDF or an Excel format, and it is, I do not hold really good skill set in Excel files, and I've seen organization people might even do not, and even if they do, it becomes cumbersome to create reports and do all those activities on a daily basis. So these are the big 2 chunk of problems, especially it's tough to analyze of how is and what is happening on a real-time basis in your organization if it does not comes up into a proper reporting format to ensure there is a, you take quick decisions and those reports strengthen up your decision making. Now, what is the solution to this? So you need to have gain deeper insight. Thank you. You need to gain deeper insight about overall marketing and team performance with wide variety of analytical report. So this analytical report talks about, for an example, how many inquiries were made. Out of those inquiries, which source worked well for you? Then how many of those inquiry were converted into an applicant? Then how many applicants have accepted the offer letter and finally have enrolled? So all this information you can see in proper bar or analytical format, which will get you an understanding about what is the number that we are right now, and again, this also includes year-on-year comparison. So you get to know what you were doing in the past and what need to be done to ensure that there's a proper target match that we are planning for. And the effect is you have your own custom dashboard with inquiry report, admission report, year-wise performance report, and you get all of this real-time basis. So it's quick, easy to understand, and easy to take decisions whenever required. So this was a quick on to. Now, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but we have seen students coming, grabbing their attentions on your door, putting down all the informations, you're consolidating them, you're doing a proper follow-up, you're managing all this inquiries from different sources onto a common platform. And at the end, you get finest analytical reports. Now, if the student has inquired, and especially during this COVID time, this fifth tactic, which is applicant portal for prospective students, which is their personalized area to play around, is going to be a big win. So we cannot let an inquiry just go away and then give them a call to update them. That is now an old story. This fifth tactic, which is applicant portal for prospective student, will solve a big problem of yours. So let's go to problem that we have seen. So we do not, I mean, the prospective student who has applied has no personalized tracking tool when they apply to a program or programs. So for example, not because I'm applying, and especially during this COVID, I really do not want to travel, and I'm applying to various different programs because I'm a little confused as well. Now I'm not sure about which program am I eligible, at what stage my application is, because the application journey itself is a big process. So this is a big problem. I need to ensure that I give a proper call, or I'll just be waiting for email to get an update at what stage it is. So that's a big problem. The student loses their interest in the program, and then it get diverted. Now, what can be the solution? So there has to be a solution which is a personalized web-based applicant portal. Again, this should be responsive. So I mean, not everyone would be, in a mood to open up a laptop for seeing what updates are there. They need to have it in their mobile phones as an mobile applicant portal or a web-based application portal to ensure that they know at what stage their application is, what are the things that they are supposed to upload or give or provide to ensure that they do all the things at the right time, the right information has been processed, and they get the admission or the enrollment in their in the program which they are targeting. So that could be the solution. Now, what is going to be the effect? So the effect is the applicant portal will increase transparency and will help to take decisions. Arnav, if you can help me out going to the next slide. Thank you. So effect is going to be the applicant portal will increase transparency and it will help in decision making for prospect, so that individual person would know at what stage they are standing. They can communicate, they can request if they have any, if they can request for more information. They can choose an alternate program if they realize that this might not be of my interest, or I might not be eligible. So all of that can be done on a timely basis, and then you can ensure that on your last date you have all your seats filled in terms of getting that enrollment done. And that ensures. So, well, before we start on the question set, I'm sorry if I'm again repeating, and I know you can help doing that. So we have seen from the start to the end, getting the student, grabbing their attentions, ensuring we have the right platform to take their information, then consolidate all the information onto a same portal, getting all the follow-ups done. Follow-ups is the key to ensure that we get the number going up. Then getting all this report into the analytical format. Even after inquiry, the applicant is going to get their personalized platform to talk about what and which stage they are, so that they can take decisions and do all the things in a timely manner. Over to you, Anurag. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayank. That was super useful stuff. I think for this next stage, we'll go to the Q&A section. So if you guys have any questions for us, now's your opportunity to ask them from us. If not, that's fine. We can close the webinar early and get on with our days. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes over here, give you guys the opportunity to ask us any questions. And if not, we can end the webinar. Quick logistical note. I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning. We will be sending a recording out for this webinar. So if you do need to head out, but want to see what happens after, don't worry, we will send you the recording.
Great. And meanwhile, we are waiting for the questions. Let me tell to the audience that Arnav and me, we both are excited to talk about how this product will help you in more detail by giving demonstrations and then showing it to you. How does it really look? I was wanting to do that today, but we'll definitely reach out to you again. We can give more detail, more information on this, what we have talked about in detail for hours. If you're interested, please let us know. We would be happy to do that.
So we have a first question over here. Can I integrate third-party apps using an API? I'm unsure which product in particular you're talking about with that. So I'll answer from the TAR side and then I'll maybe hand it over to Mayank. So with TARs, you can, with our chatbots, you can integrate our chatbots with third-party apps using an API. So we have a pretty versatile API integration feature. We also have a Zapier integration and a couple of other app-specific integrations that you can use to pretty much send any data that you have to wherever it needs to get. And also, interestingly enough, we often talk about sending data to where it needs to get, but also fetching data from places. So if you want to fetch data about a particular student, if they share their phone number with you and you already have that on file, you can pull that information and just get them to confirm that information for you instead of having them go through the entire lead generation process, a lead capture process again. But yeah, you can absolutely integrate with third-party apps. In fact, one of my colleagues, Abhilash, has actually shared the help doc that we have on our page to fetch data from Google Sheets and show it in a TARS chatbot. He's dropped that link to that help doc in the chat. Mayank, how about you guys in academia? I presume you can.
Yes. Oh yes, I mean, well, that's I can talk about in more detail. So yes, we can do the API integrations now because it's an SIS. It's quite big with more than 5,000 features, more than 38 modules that we have to offer. So we do this API-based integrations quite often. In short, if I can tell you a number, so we have done more than 500 third-party integrations at different stages in different modules. So yes, that is 100% possible, and we can do that.
Great. Awesome. It doesn't look like we have any other questions on deck. I'll maybe close out over here, but I'll close out really slowly so that you guys have the opportunity to submit any more questions that you have. Thanks everyone for joining this webinar. It was an absolute pleasure hosting it for you guys. Mayank, thanks for joining us and sharing your awesome tactics with us. Always good to have people who know what they're talking about on these webinars. So yeah, thanks for joining. Hopefully we can host more webinars like this in the future.
100%. Thank you so much, Arnav and team members, for allowing us be here with you. It was fun, and we definitely would be connecting again. And let's have some more tactic going into the market. All set.
Yep. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be sending a copy of the recording and the slide deck to you guys after the webinar is done. But that's it for today. Keep a lookout on our webpage for more